If what I saw is true, war is on its way.
We've got to fix this, or Loki will be lost forever.
Great. This entire place is going to be destroyed.
They have one shot at this.
Whatever we do, we're playing God.
What could we have done differently?
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my Loki Season 2, Episode 5 trailer video. Obviously, there's a bunch of questions and WTF cliffhangers they have to resolve from Episode 4, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. Kevin Feige has been talking about them doing Loki Season 3, but because there's been so much chaos at Marvel lately behind the scenes with all the different strikes, that's been affecting all of Hollywood, but they've also been canceling projects, then restarting projects from the ground up like Daredevil Born Again. They just hit the pause button on announcing new stuff that they haven't already been talking about publicly. So even though this version of Loki will continue no matter what after Season 2, we might also be getting Loki Season 3. There are 2 more episodes as of me posting this video. They said that Season 2 has a more definitive ending than Season 1, like he doesn't see another statue of another Kang and then they just cut to black. Like there'll be an actual ending, but it won't be like the last ending for the character. There'll still be stuff that they're setting up. Primarily Deadpool 3, Avengers 5, Kang Dynasty, Avengers 6, Secret Wars, that big stuff. Even though we have the Marvels movie that's also coming out next week, I don't think this is going to be that connected to what's happening in the Marvels movie. That's also connected to like Avengers 5, Kang Dynasty stuff. I'll talk about that in my videos for the Marvels movie. But now a lot of you are like, how did they get out of that situation at the end of that WTF cliffhanger at the end of Episode 4? Because basically all of reality collapsed on itself. That was what was happening. That's why when the timeline was exploding, the wave washed over them like Loki flinched and then suddenly just jammed to black, like boom, nothingness. No sound, no nothing. It was meant to represent all of reality collapsing, like it was meant to be the void of nothingness before the Big Bang. That's why I made the reference to like Null, God of Symbiotes, like Arishem the Judge says that he predated the universe, predated the Big Bang. Dark Elves from Thor the Dark World, they came from before the Big Bang. So there are like a couple things that actually exist in that void of nothingness. But thankfully, the trailer footage has a bunch of scenes that we have not seen in episodes yet, so clearly they do fix things at least temporarily. My early guess right now is that they don't actually fix things and it's just Loki's time slipping that kicks back in and he just slips back to a different time earlier before this actually happens. That would explain like the temporary band-aid on the situation, so there's still like a ticking clock, like we're still headed for absolute destruction of reality. But it just gives Loki a little more room to try things a little bit differently to see if that will wind up helping things.
What could we have done differently?
During the trailer, he's talking to Ouroboros saying, what could we have done differently to fix this, basically. They're kind of going full Doctor Who this season with all the different time travel tropes here. One of the other funny things about the Doctor Who series, just in general, is that they're also known for breaking their own internal logic all the time, so don't be surprised if Loki does that too. There are also a lot of people that are wondering if the Infinity Stones now work inside the TVA because they turned the magic dampeners off. People are like, did Loki grab the Time Stone? Is that how he gets out of this situation? I don't think that's the case, but the Infinity Stones might actually work now. So what they've done with the MCU, with like all the TV shows, all the movies, is they've changed the way the Infinity Stones work, like some of the rules behind how they work from the way that they work in the comics. Then they did What If Season 1, and they had this whole twist where Ultron gets the Infinity Stones and winds up using them in a bunch of different realities. So people are like, wait a minute, how do the Infinity Stones work now if he's using them in all these different realities across the multiverse? The short answer is that people at Marvel don't always worry about problems like that. They just thought that it would be cool to see Ultron using the Infinity Stones across a bunch of different realities. Like, this would be a cool scene, so let's just do it that way and then try to explain it after the fact. And that just causes problems with some of their other stories because obviously the What If people weren't really talking about that to the Loki people. Either way, I do not think the Time Stone is how Loki solved this situation. I think it's just going to be as simple as time slipping. Like you look at all these different scenes here and you see all these different things turning into spaghetti around them and they seem way more chill. So clearly it's at some point before this winds up happening. There's also a bunch of scenes of him time slipping like to the jet ski dealership, all these other places here. There's scenes of him from what look like the events of Season 1 talking to Mobius about making hard choices in the TVA prison suit. Now you're asking, if Loki is time-slipping to the past, does that mean that Victor Timely is still there and alive and able to help them? Because there is some new voiceover dialogue from one of the Kangs saying, around and around we go, and also make the hard choice in a different scene.
Make the hard choice, and around we go.
So that voice might be more He Who Remains voiceover. Not clear when it would be happening, like is this them seeing him alive again, or is this them just watching another recording of him like they saw in episode 4? Either way, we will probably see more from a Kang variant in the last 2 episodes. Like, just because Victor Timely died doesn't mean that's the end of the Kangs. And to answer the other question too, I get a lot of questions about this on a couple of previous videos. What happens to the Council of Kangs if the timeline here is exploding and all of reality is collapsing? Does that also kill the Council of Kangs? The answer is no, because the Council of Kangs, like the actual building where they're assembling here, exists the same way the TVA exists in its own little pocket dimension, so it's also protected from changes to the timeline. There's brand new footage of Sylvie fighting someone in He Who Remains Citadel at the end of time using her magic, so that might wind up being her rematch with Renslayer, just because they're setting her up as one of the big bads this season. And to answer the other question, Renslayer got pruned, so that meant she got sent to the Void Planet. There's some footage here of her in that same outfit on the Void Planet, just staring up at this bright light. It's not clear if Alioth still exists on the Void Planet because of what happened to He Who Remains, but he might still be there. It seems like they stole her TemPad before she got pruned though, so there's a question as to how she winds up getting back. Miss Minutes was taken offline briefly. Eventually she'll find a way to come back, and if Loki time slips to the past, pretty much everybody would be alive again too. There are a couple other new scenes, like there's this weird scene of Hunter B-15 in the Doctor's outfit, dressed like a doctor with a portal behind her. It's unclear if this is like her regular life on the Sacred Timeline, because there have been all these references to the characters visiting their original lives on the timeline, like, don't you want your life back? There's a scene of Casey in the alleyway, not really clear what he's doing. He's also wearing a different outfit. There's a bunch of scenes of Sylvie looking at different places with things turning to spaghetti. Like she opens the portal and it seems like this black nothingness with spaghetti all around her. So it seems like she tries to go to a different point in the timeline or to a different reality, and there's just nothing because the timeline exploded. At some point, the record shop she's in here turns into spaghetti. That might happen before that. Regardless of what winds up happening at the end of the season, I think that Renslayer will wind up surviving. Like, I think they want to keep the character around heading into Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty because she's such a big part of the Kang comics just in general, all the different Kang comics. But I do think that Loki and Sylvie will wind up defeating her and Miss Minutes in some way. So if anybody's going to die in this equation, it would be Miss Minutes, even though she's a program, so it'd be more like deactivating her permanently. Somehow just erasing all of her code. But there's like the whole Ultron problem, because she's basically like a more advanced version of Ultron, and Ultron is supposed to come back during the Iron Man Armor Wars movie, so if he can come back, then would Miss Minutes also be able to come back somehow? That crazy little yandere just gonna find a way to survive, just save a little piece of her code somewhere buried across the multiverse.
I need to tell you.
You'll never be him.
If you want to save her for like some far distant future story, you could always save her for like a Young Avengers story. She'd work really well on a story like that if you're going to do something like the Iron Lad character eventually. Oh, look at this cool program I found. It's really good at playing chess, and then boom, slam to black. But everyone post all your theories for the next 2 episodes based on the footage in all the trailers that we haven't seen yet. Generally, it does seem like Loki will save the TVA at least temporarily because it has to exist during the events of Deadpool 3. But we know everything winds up leading up to Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty, where the Council of Kangs starts making war on all the regular Avengers in the 616 universe, probably some other multiverse characters too. Then we know that by Avengers 6 Secret Wars, everything is going to collapse. They're going to do a version of Battleworld. Deadpool 3 seems like it's a little more connected to that, so I'm not expecting to see a whole bunch of Secret Wars related stuff until Deadpool 3. I don't think the Council of Kangs is going to be a huge character in the next 2 episodes, but I do think there'll be some reference to what's going on with them. Like, I think they were trying to keep Loki Season 2 relatively self-contained with just a couple variants of Kang. There have been rumors about other variants beyond the ones that we've seen so far, but I think when it comes to referencing the Council of Kangs, there'll just be like some loose references in the finale. Like, oh, there is still the threat of the Council of Kangs. There's this Kang multiverse war that we're going to see play out during the events of Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty. I did a big Loki Season 2 deleted scenes video earlier because they revealed a bunch of deleted scenes for like a completely different storyline where we actually would have seen the Kang multiverse war play out over the course of Loki Season 2, which would have been really cool. They said that they basically saved most of that for Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty, or a version of that, because what they would have done during Loki Season 2, had they done that, would have just been a much cheaper version of that. Like, if you're going to show a bunch of different Kangs fighting all the Avengers characters across time, you want to see like the Avengers Endgame level version of that, which is why they saved it for the next Avengers movie.
You mess with time, it tends to mess back. You'll see.
They're beginning to touch the multiverse. They will take everything.
There are a couple brief references to it during Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania when Janet Van Dyne was learning about Kang the Conqueror's history, like she saw his mind. She basically saw all the different wars that he fought across space and time, the different timelines. But you have to imagine that he was just one of the more powerful versions of Kang. So this is happening across all of reality, all these different timelines with many different variants. My full episode 5 video will post next week after they release it. Then big reminder that Invincible Season 2 is starting next week. I'll do episode videos for that, so I'll post those after my Loki episode videos. So click here for my Loki episode 5 video. I'll update the link after I post that, and click here for all my other Loki videos. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.